Hello lovelies and welcome to today's video. So I have an art journal page for you today. What you can't see, because I've started this in a few seconds, is I've actually got some cardstock that I have cut down to 9 by something. Basically I've enjoyed creating on cardstock and then putting it in my art journal later. So yeah, it's an art journal page, but I'm just working on some loose leaf cardstock. So I started with, I haven't gessoed or anything, I've done nothing to my cardstock except glue down a piece of this tissue paper. You're actually going to see me pull it up in a minute because I wasn't thinking and I didn't like the way it looked. So I'm using scribble sticks today, which is like a stick of pigment. They're Dina Wakley scribble sticks. I really do love them as a medium. They're great and they give a nice real watercolor look from acrylic paint basically. So I'm starting with Sedona. And as you can see, when I'm going over the collage paper, you can see the edge, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the sharp edge it was giving, so I pull it up, thinking I'd have to start again, but I was pleasantly surprised that you could still see what was going on here, and it didn't look too bad, so I continued on with it. I just decided to use my scribble sticks directly on the paper as well. So scribble sticks they're a hard crayon type thing. So to activate them, to get the paint, you can use them without water, but you get more of like a crayon effect, or you can add water and then you get like the watercolor paint effect. So that's what I was doing. Now, to put it straight on my page, all I did was I dipped the end in a cup of water and applied it straight to my page. That's what I'm doing here to fill in a few places, and then I am using my paintbrush with some water on it just to move it around a bit. So I've also got lemon and magenta, and I'm going to just use those to give me a nice little contained area. I was aiming for a lot of white space because I knew I wanted to use one of those butterflies on top of a whole big bunch of color. I actually was thinking very muted, like I didn't want anything too bold or bright, but what can I say? I like my bright colors. And I want my butterfly on top of that section with all this white space. So I decided to come back in and use some of the tissue paper. I've just ripped it up a bit and I'm just gluing it down. And then I'm just going to fill in some more color. So I decided to add some more pink. I do come back in a lot with the magenta because I really do want it to, I really want to pick up the colors from the butterfly. So I went really heavy-handed with the Sedona and the yellow. So I decided to come back in with more of that magenta to even it out. Now I've got the scribbled butterflies and I wasn't sure which one to use, the big one or the second biggest. I had fully intended to use the moderate size one, the second biggest one, but in the end, I thought the big would be too big and just overtake everything, but in the end, I really like that it is definitely the focal point right on top of all my paint. So I did go with the larger one. Now I'm just using some gauze that I literally had a few scraps on my art desk, so I decided to bring it in and use it. You'll notice I don't even have to glue it down because this is all still wet. So I'm just throwing it around on top of my painted area, and then when I glue the butterfly down, it's all just gonna hold. So that was a nice happy little coincidence. You still can't really tell that I'm working on a piece of cardstock. I promise you can in the photo at the end. So, oh, you're right down there, my love? You okay? Okay. Ruby's just coughing up her dinner, I think. So, now I wanted to bring in a bit of a neutral, so I've gone with some grey, and I'm using another of the new stamps from this month's collection. Now, when you use scribble sticks, it can give you a really nice washed out watercolor look. If you're looking for a really solid, bold, crisp image, do not use scribble sticks, or you can, but not the way I'm using it, I guess. No, you couldn't use scribble sticks. It's going to give you a washed out look anyway. So yeah, I really love the watercolor effect you get when you use scribble sticks to stamp. Basically, you wet the end of the scribble stick, scribble on your stamp, and then stamp it down. If you spritz it with water, it'll give you more of a watercolor image, if that makes sense. And that is how I love using scribble sticks in stamping. It just gives you it's just like another tone and another texture on your page. Now I'm coming back in with a wet scribble stick. I'm dipping the end of it in, again, a cup of water, just to activate it a little bit. And I'm just scribbling in a few areas on my page. This is because I'm really trying to draw in a lot of patterns from the butterfly. I want to sort of make them cohesive, if that makes sense. See that, you know, I'm getting my theme from my butterfly. So I wanted to add some scribbles in, but I didn't want it in a black because I thought that would just be too bold and out there, and I really wanted the focus to be on the butterfly. So I'm pushing everything into the background. So I've used the grey scribble stick, and that just gives you a nice little bit of neutral in the background where you can sort of see my scribbles a little bit. So I've glued my butterfly down directly on top of everything right in the middle, and so that's going to hold my gauze down. And this is where I come back in with more magenta. Now, after I've done the stamping with the grey, I wasn't a huge fan of it. It just looked a little strange in a few areas. It didn't go. So you'll see that I bring in some of the magenta and sort of cover it up. More blend, I'd say, is the word. Not really cover up, but just sort of blend it into the background a bit, so it just makes it a little softer. You can still see the stamping, but it does just sort of push it back a bit, and it has the bonus effect of bringing in more of that magenta. So yay, winning. You will see I'm using the scribble stick and my finger. Again, I'm just activating that scribble stick by dipping the end of it into some water and then applying it straight to my page. And then I'm just using my finger to dab it around. Very, very simple. These are a great medium to use. I do love using them. As you can see, they're nice and bold and bright, but the more water you add could make it... They're completely under your control. The more water you add, or the more scribble stick you add, will vary the color you get, and that's what I think is fantastic about them. So this is just some really quick videoing I did to show you how I finished off my layout, my page, sorry. Yes, I cut the antennas off my butterflies only because they're so hard to cut, but it wouldn't be a butterfly without those little antenna-y things. So I add them back in with a pen, and then I've also used the same pen to scribble through my stencil. Honestly, I didn't have any paints on my desk, and I couldn't be bothered going and getting it, so I used my new Sharpie Click pen. It's I love the Sharpie pens. I have Sharpie felt tip pens, but this is like a clicky gel pen. It's my new favorite pen. It's fantastic. And literally I just scribbled through the stencil, and that's my title. So that's it for my page. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll be back real soon. Bye for now.